Hi guys, let's talk about Outlaw Stage 3 guerrilla attacks. Now, what I'm trying to do here, Stage 1 and Stage 2 are highly apoptotic, which is natural cell death. So I'm overloading my system with natural compounds and a few pharmaceuticals that help impose apoptosis on the cancer cells which have mutated to try and prevent apoptosis. So by taking all these compounds that force those cells into apoptosis, we can kill cancer cells and tumor cells. Now, as a reminder, for stage 3, I'm trying to cause ferroptosis, which is a different process, but ferroptosis is targeted at the cancer stem cells that produce the cancer cells that grow into tumors. So in an effort to try and prevent reoccurrence of cancer and actually kill it out, I'm attempting this ferroptosis phase, which I'm calling a guerrilla attack, because it actually comes in 2 parts over the course of 3 weeks. So in the first stage of the guerrilla attack, it's a 1-week prep phase, which I take a pharmaceutical called hydroxychloroquine, and for that week I took 300 milligrams twice a day of hydroxychloroquine, and then a natural medicine, and I don't know how to pronounce this actually. It's either Basilin or Bacilin, I don't know, but it's B-A-I-C-A-L-E-I-N, and I took 500 milligrams of that twice a day for that week. Now, during that week, that's the prep week, preparing for ferroptosis. During that week, I started cutting back on meat in my diet and eliminated even chicken and eggs, and started cutting back on those to where by the end of that week, I'm basically totally vegan. And that leads me into the 2-week ferroptosis kill cycle, which I take out the hydroxychloroquine and the Bacilin, and I add sulfasalazine, which I take 3 times a day, 1,000 milligrams, and alpha-lipoic acid, which is a natural compound, that I take 600 milligrams of twice a day. Now, I'm still taking the stage 1 and stage 2 medicines, but during the ferroptosis 2-week ferroptosis stage, I stopped taking a variety of things, including milk thistle, all the mushrooms, curcumin, beta-carotene, the Basilin, selenium, ECGC, vitamin E, quercetin, and then nuts, coffee, avocados, all animal proteins, and eggs. Cut out all of that for that 2-week period that I'm vegan, going through this ferroptosis cycle, because all of those items could possibly interfere with the attempt to attack the cancer stem cells. So for me, the way that we think we'll know, because here's another problem, there's not a test for cancer stem cells. There's not a blood test. There's not a scan that stem cells show up on. There's no way to really know what's going on with them. And it's a big part of why so many people have recurrences of cancer, because there's just not a way to test for them and know that they're there and see that they're producing or really know anything about them. So what I've kind of figured out for me is the stem cells. I became anemic a couple of years before I was diagnosed with cancer, and which is very rare for men to be anemic. I mean, we don't menstruate, regardless of what you might see on social media. So that means something was consuming the iron out of my system that was making me anemic, low on iron. And what it is those cancer stem cells, they take that iron and use it to protect themselves and to hide from the immune system and to become impenetrable for any kind of medicine to attack them. So I think with the Guerrilla stage and stage 2 of just, you know, the siege and trying to coerce cells into doing something that we want them to do, we're coercing the stem cells to release the iron. And once the iron's released, it comes back into my system, and then the stem cells become susceptible to the sulfasalazine and the alpha lipoic acid, and they're not being fed by meat, not being fed any cysteine that they can use to convert into energy. So hopefully what we're going to see happen is in upcoming blood tests, we're going to see my iron levels start increasing and start going up. And if we see that naturally without supplementation of any kind of iron supplement, if we see that iron levels start increasing, then that should be a pretty good sign that we're having an effect on the cancer stem cells. So other than that, I'm not sure if there's a known way to test for them. Again, stage 3 Guerrilla attack is, the first Guerrilla attack is a 1-week phase of hydroxychloroquine and baseline, taking 300 milligrams twice a day of hydroxychloroquine and 500 milligrams of baseline. And then I follow that week immediately with a 2-week ferroptosis cycle, taking 1,000 milligrams 3 times a day of sulfasalazine and 600 milligrams twice a day of alpha lipoic acid. But I also stopped milk thistle, mushrooms, curcumin, beta-carotene, baseline, selenium, ECGC, vitamin E, quercetin, and then food sources of nuts, coffee, avocados, animal protein, and eggs. So that always leads to the question, well, what are you eating on those 2 weeks? Well, I've eaten a lot of beans in a salad, cold beans on a salad with sunflower seeds, and cutting up an apple and putting in there, a green apple because it's much lower in sugar. You know, just some green peppers, red peppers, you know, just veggies, and eating a lot of that. Annie made some, my wife made some cheese enchiladas. Those were great because I love Mexican food, so anything with salsa I'm good with. So I'm not starving. I've lost a little bit of weight this week. This in my first week of the ferroptosis 2-week cycle. But overall, I feel good, and I'm not really having any side effects. So hopefully in a week or 2, when we start getting blood tests back, we'll be able to see the iron level continuing to rise. It's gone up a little bit. 2 tests ago, it didn't even register on the scale. The normal range is like 65 to 130, and but it can't measure below 17. And my test 2 tests ago came back as less than 17. Didn't register. Iron. I think that's a ferritin measure. But then the last test, it was like 23 or 25, something like that. So it didn't go up much, but it had gone up a little bit, which is encouraging. And now that I'm in this ferroptosis Guerrilla attack, hopefully we'll see it go up even more. So I'll keep you up to date, but this is what I'm doing. And at this point, you've seen the videos of all 3 stages. I've given you my meds, what I'm taking. Again, I'm not a doctor. I don't recommend what I'm doing for anyone else, but if there's something I'm doing that makes sense to you, that you can talk to your doctor about, your functional medicine doctor, MD, functional oncologist, your nutritionist, your naturopath, your homeopathic doctor. Don't rely, my encouragement would be, I don't rely solely on my oncologist, traditional oncologist, because they don't have training in all these other areas and because their license restricts them from being able to make recommendations in these other areas. So knowing that they're not allowed to do that better informs me on how I should proceed. And that means I use a team of doctors from a variety of disciplines, functional MD, homeopathic doctor, naturopath. I don't just rely on the oncologist. And that's because, we've talked before, I'm not going to war and only sending the Navy. I'm going to use every branch, every weapon available, and that's pharmaceutical, natural meds, and metabolic therapies. So hope you have as good a luck as what I'm having. I'm more than a year away now from a 6-month to live diagnosis. And I'm back to work. I'm living normally. I spent this morning up at the softball fields watching my great niece playing a softball tournament. So hope you find great success with your treatment plan and your treatment protocol, and hopefully there's something that I've shared that's beneficial to you. So have a great day. Thanks.